Hello, Whitefish! So much happening around the Flathead Valley right now. After years of Whitefish being lauded as Canada's Tijuana, Kalispell has now retained that title after it was discovered that its drinking water is muy no bueno. Glacier International Airport unveiled its fancy new remodel this week. It's now home to the Flathead Valley's first and only set of moving staircases. And they're called escalators. Huh, neat. We're now more than halfway through the ski season, and it's turned out. All right. Good luck to all the competitors this weekend at the Nate Shoot Classic, which is celebrating 25 years of racing and supporting the Nate Shoot Foundation. A happy birthday shout out to E-Rock, and a big thanks to him and Kate Berry for helping get my family out of that snowbank earlier this winter. Thanks guys, you're the best. Today's guest is Marianne Smith. She is the CEO of the nonprofit Code Girls United, which brings the language of computer coding, business development, and the power of problem solving to girls in rural and tribal communities throughout Montana via their free after-school programs. Code Girls United is a remarkable success story that is setting up future generations of young Montana women for success. To learn more, visit the links in the description below. Today's episode is brought to you by Thrivers Coffee. If you would like to help support the fight against human trafficking, visit thriverscoffee.com to order your coffee and make a difference today. Marianne Smith, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I love what we're going to talk about today. I think it's incredibly important. We're going to talk about coding. You run an organization called Code Girls United.
Yes.
What is Code Girls United?
So Code Girls United is a little more than just coding. What we are is an after-school program for 4th to 8th grade girls throughout the state of Montana. We have in-person programs, some online, some hybrid programs, and we've kind of mission drifted a little bit where we have some high school girls. Both here in Kalispell, we have an advanced group that has some high school girls, and then we do programs for tribal high school girls. So that's what we do. And our programs are set up to teach computer science and coding, programming, but also connect it with business. And the big part of it is to unite those two things, but do it in a way that's very girl-centric, where it's what the girls are interested in. You have your unicorn pen, and indeed,
My daughter's unicorn pen. Yep.
We have our summer camp for the younger girls, the 4th through 6th grade, is the Coding Groovy Unicorns. So,
awesome. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we try and kind of mix it up with that, but really the hallmark of what we do in our program is an app challenge. And with that app challenge, the girls spend a half a year as a team, and they come up with a community problem they want to solve, and they work their way through a business plan and the whole, if you were in a software company, this is what you would be doing, and then finally design and code their app and make a presentation on it. So it's a full spectrum program.
Coding to the uninitiated sounds a little intense, and like it's this really mysterious, like a lot of computers and words and letters and stuff. How do the girls pick it up?
Yeah, what we do with our beginning groups is it's not coding. We're not doing Python or Java, if anybody's heard of those things, where you're typing in letters and, oh my gosh, if you didn't get your paren in the right place, it throws everything off. We use block coding. And what block coding is it just is, it'll see a block and it has code underneath it. So it makes it really easy to teach conceptual ideas and actually have them program so they can understand things, but they're not getting hung up in a comma that's in the wrong place.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. We use MIT's App Inventor, and we're also going to be using, with our tribal high school program, we're going to be using Maker Code, and we're using these things called bitbots. And anyway.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, it is.
Why did you start Code Girls United?
So it's kind of a long story, but what ended up happening, I was teaching at FECC, and I did find that I was having very, very few girls that were in computer science classes. And at the same time, there was a friend of mine who had a young girl who wanted to do a similar after-school program to what they had. I think it was in Seattle at the time. And she had asked me about it. And I thought, yeah, you know what? I can put something together. And that's what happened. And we ended up in Sykes' basement. And two women joined me very shortly after. Liz Burnell, who's a teacher at Russell Elementary in Kalispell. And then Beth Schecker, who's my business counterpoint, joined us. And we put together, at first I was just kind of teaching computer science concepts, doing things like binary code and things that were a little bit easier. But then it was like, we've got to figure something else out. So then Beth and I both had come from from industry and technical degrees. And we were talking about, well, what did we not get? And the one thing that we didn't really get is that connection with technology and business, where you could create the greatest thing in the world that you think technically is super and fantastic. But at the same time, the problem is that if you can't sell it or you don't have a customer for it, then nobody's ever going to use it. So it's like, I guess, building a giant Lego that you get to look at and say it's beautiful, but nobody ever gets to see. That's how we got started. And we had about 20 girls, and a bunch of them ended up dropping out because they had to bring their own computers. But Liz thankfully got us into Russell Elementary. And then there was a competition in Montana at the time in Helena. And we thought, oh, we'll do this competition and we'll see what happens. And it was fine, and the girls all did really well. But the next year we decided, okay, we needed money for T-shirts. That was it. Oh, we need $300 for T-shirts because we're tired of putting our own money into this.
Yeah.
Because we're just, it's volunteer. It's not like anybody's paid or anything. So what we did is we went to Women Who Wine down in Kalispell. They do funding for nonprofits, and the way they do it is they have these meetings once a month, and you drink wine, you bring wine, they raffle wine, and they use all of the proceeds from that to raise money for that nonprofit that was there speaking. So at the time, Women Who Wine was kind of young. Anyway, so we went there, and it was at DeSoto Grill, and it was packed, and we were, frankly, like, what the heck is going on here? Because I had heard of Women Who Wine, but I had never been to one. So we made a presentation, and they were just packed with women. They're asking questions, and the three of us were just like, what the heck is going on? And sure enough, Jamie Gogan was there and came up and talked to us afterwards, and we walked out with giant eyeballs. Like, what have we started?
Yeah. And
that kind of let it all off to where we had to decide, are we going to do a nonprofit or not? Or what are we going to do? Are we going to make this grow or not? And I think the thing is, personality-wise, if we were going to do it, it was going to be all out. And
right.
It wasn't going to be something that was just going to be like, oh, I really feel about this, and it was going to be, okay, we're gonna do this like a startup. We're gonna run it like a startup, and we are gonna just go for it and see what happens. And that's what we did.
Wow.
So it was not. It wasn't started like we thought, oh yeah, let's start a nonprofit. It was more like, oh my gosh, if we do this, Beth, you're not retired anymore. Oh, guess what? I've got a second, third job now. And oh, Liz, guess what? Now you've got a second job. So here we go.
Right.
So that's kind of what the path was. But
all because you needed some T-shirts.
All because we needed $300 for T-shirts. Yeah. Yeah. So it was really interesting getting started, and also kind of learning about the nonprofit world, which we were from, and not Liz in particular, but we were from the commercial side of things, from the business side, and software and other things, and hardware. We had talked about the Bay Area a little bit, and I'd worked for Lockheed and, had this whole experience. Beth had worked for IBM, and then she started a health food store. It was like there's all this crazy background that we had, and taking that as, okay, we're going to run this like a business, but how do we deal with these nonprofit acronyms? Like a profit and loss statement isn't a profit and loss statement. It's a statement of, I can't remember what it's even called right now. It's like that everything has a word, but you use a different word for it.
Exactly. And it's a little meticulous.
Yes.
It's a totally different beast doing a nonprofit.
It is.
There's a board and there's terms.
Yeah. And it's just kind of a like, okay, now we've got it now. We kind of understand. It's sort of the same, but a little bit different. But in essentially, if you can't run your nonprofit as a business, then you're not going to have your nonprofit very long. And that's really what the bottom line is. And people can have a lot of passion for things, and they can really want to do something and really want to be successful and just, they really want to help and have that compassion. But the problem is if you don't really understand that a nonprofit is a business, and it's your job to keep the money flowing and keep the organization running. And because if not, when you go, the whole thing goes.
Yep.
And that's kind of where we are now. We're in this, sustainable and scalable. And that's what we are all about now.
That's so amazing. You realize that one of the amazing things about the Valley is the amount of generosity there is here and the desire for people to succeed via the philanthropy you see around here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really is. And this was our second year this past year that we participated in the Great Fish Community Challenge.
Oh, awesome.
So it was really exciting. We were on the bottom of the list our first year.
Yeah.
So this year we were kind of in the middle, which was really, really nice because it kind of stunk being on the bottom. But at the same time, it was such a good lesson and a learning experience for us to understand what kind of needs to be done to participate, but then also the fruits basically of doing the work and trying to get the word out and talk to people in the area. I think it also helped us a little bit. We have 38 programs around the state right now and 2 online programs, but we have one in Whitefish that we had tried to start a few years ago, but it just didn't take off. But this fall, we had so many kids, we were like, we're going to have 2 classes, but luckily we were able to manage it with volunteers this year in Whitefish. But I think next year we're going to have 2 classes here in Whitefish.
So it's been popular.
Yeah, it here in particular, but in Bozeman we have a program that's down at MSU in the engineering building.
Oh, wow.
This is our second year that we did it there, and next year we're going to be in 10 elementary schools in Bozeman, and we're in 8 elementary schools in Billings right now. And we're partnering with the United Way in both of those places. They do after school programming. And then in Helena and Great Falls, it's really interesting. We partnered with a program called, it's a DoD program called Starbase.
Okay.
And everywhere that there's a military base, they have this program where they do STEM education for kids. So we partnered with them in Helena Middle Schools and Great Falls Middle Schools too. So.
Wow. It's really taken off.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, again, from being in the basement.
Yeah. As Sykes.
Sometimes we still talk about it like, oh, we're in the basement. And now look at us like, how did this happen? But how it happened is just a lot of hard work from a lot of people. It's not just me. There's other people that have participated and helped and kind of helped us shape our programs. And also, teachers that we've had. It's very interesting. And I want to touch on something, but I also want to talk about Montana does not have computer science in schools.
Right. That was definitely a topic I wanted to cover.
Yeah. And it's not just Montana. It's a lot of states do not have computer science as a requirement. And it's very interesting because I belong to this Computer Science Teachers Association, and I see these people putting in notes from all over the country, like, well, how do I teach this? Has anybody done this? Does anybody have curriculum for this? Well, what do you know about that? So it's interesting because there's teachers that are either from the top down. People are saying, hey, we need to teach some of this stuff, or it's coming from just their own interests. And a lot of times what's happening in Montana is school districts that maybe have more money, or school districts that have just either a superintendent that might have an interest in this. They'll do some more classes. It's very, very hard in a way to get teachers to do this, because when you say computer science, it's terrifying to them. And I tell people, if I can teach a fourth grader to do this, I can teach you to teach it. It's not as intimidating as what you think it is. But I think there's just a perception that it's this big scary thing, and people are a little, oh my gosh, you don't have to do 10 calculus classes to do this.
Right.
So I think there's overcoming the teacher kind of reluctance also. Sure. So there's not really a financial incentive for them to do it. So
so sad.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Montana's not the only one. Iowa, we've had people contact us from Iowa. Chris Necker, his folks in Wisconsin, he would like us to do a program there. So we're trying to see if we could possibly do it. That's great. Not really our that's not what's in our growth plan.
To go out of state.
It is to go out of state, but
okay.
What we've decided is we want to really partner with the DoD Starbase program.
Okay.
Because they have their own teachers that we just have to train. They have the relationship with the schools already. It's not like we would have to to do some of that work. So it would be kind of an easy, not easy. It would be a better way to grow.
Yeah.
But Chris is, he's on me, man. So.
That's so great. I just realized my interview with him today. Yeah. So you're going right after him.
Yeah, he's such a good guy.
He's become a very close dear friend.
Yeah, and just really smart, and he really cares about people and really wants people to do better. And his story of his teacher in Wisconsin, how he ended up where he was just incredible. And I got to talk to that guy.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow. Yeah, we talked about that on that episode.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's the one that's really going to spearhead things if we do go to Wisconsin. So
that's so crazy. I mean, it makes sense why he's done so well at Tuber Capital and why they've really embraced him, because I think he and Mike both have that mentality of like just really wanting to help people and see really these early innovators succeed.
Yeah, and it's just interesting, and it's great to be able to meet people like that and work with them, because they're, he's going to get it done, and that makes things easier for us, so that the work doesn't all fall on us, because we do have limited staff and limited capacity and resources to do things. Like, we're just some people in Kalispell. So
yeah.
we're not this giant organization.
Right. But you're exposing these kids to potential career paths they might not have ever had the opportunity to explore, which is really exciting, which I think this is a good segue to kind of what is the problem? And I was looking at your website, and these really kind of eye-opening talking points. I'm going to state these facts real quick. When I read this, I was like, wow, that's shocking. So according to the American Association of University of Women, in recent years, only 20% of advanced placement or AP computer science exam takers in high school have been female, compared to 48% for calculus, 59% for biology, and 34% for physics. And the proportion of female students majoring in computing in college is not just low, it has fallen dramatically. In 1984, 37% of computer science majors in the U.S. were women. Today, only 18% are. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's kind of, some of those statistics are kind of interesting. I think that The AP thing is really interesting because I think there's only been 7 or 8 girls in the life of the AP exam for computer science that have taken it in Montana, forever.
Wow.
And I think back in 2017, there had been no girls that had ever taken that exam. And there's been no Native Americans that have ever taken it, male or female.
Huh.
So it's just not something that the kids are being taught and, have the opportunity to even pursue. So I think it's just I think Missoula has a private school that does an amazing computer science job with their high school students. But for the reason the numbers falling, I think there's a couple of reasons. And one, I think, is something that we had talked about before, is that there was a time when computers were coming out when they were given to boys more than they were given to girls. So right at that point when, home PCs came out, boys were given it because, it's electronics and has all that kind of stuff that maybe at the time boys would typically be more interested in. The whole gaming sector, it's not that girls don't play games, but I think that the appeal is very different. And I think that what's happened is with gaming, I don't think boys even realize that they're learning to program when they're making modifications to games or they're setting up their own servers. They're doing these things and they're just naturally learning how to program. So it's kind of where gaming kind of sets you up. And it sets you up conceptually too, like the if I have an axe, then I could cut down a tree. It's like all of these
completely. Yeah.
kind of logic steps that you would take if you were programming or designing electronics or something.
Solving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's that same sort of thought process. And I think for girls in general, this is just my own opinion, but what I found is that although we have great robotics teams around here, and I think they're super, and there's girls from Girl Scouts, I can't remember what the name of the team is now, but they're amazing. Oh my gosh, the girls are amazing. And there are some girls that kind of touch on that a little bit. I think that teaching computer science to girls in general, if you look at a curve, does not appeal with gaming or robotics. I think that you can get the girls like me that would be really happy to blow up stuff and and take things apart and rebuild them. But in general, our program is trying to reach the middle part of the graph instead of the ends.
Oh, I see.
So I think that that's a part of why it's not being taught in a way that appeals to girls. Girls care about things and they want to fix the world and they want to feel like what they're doing is important. They're helping people. So very obvious, if you want to teach something to girls, then you put it in that kind of a framework where they're getting that experience on how to use technology to solve the problems they care about.
Oh, that's so great.
So, and that's that connection that I could take a room full of boys and I could have them blow up all kinds of stuff. And by teaching them to program, and they would be very happy and they would learn and they would be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. For our girls, it hasn't come up yet. Blowing up stuff really hasn't come up. Yeah. And the only time you can cut this if you want, but it's a crazy story. In Billings, we, like I said, we partner with the United Way and we're in all these elementary schools. Well, we were checking on the progress of this classes to see how things are going and see how the kids are doing. And one of the gals who works for us, Katie Dyson, she was looking at the apps and she said, there's something wrong here. It was this cat app and you make the cat meow. And when you touch the cat or you shake the phone, the cat meows. It's very cute.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's very fun. She's like, there's something wrong. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, look at these 2 apps and what's happened? And they do a button on the app and you press the button and it just comes up, kill the cat.
What?
And the other one was shoot the cat. Well, one of the teachers had let a couple of boys come in the class, and we didn't know it. And it's not that I don't. I love boys. I have my two sons, and they program and do things, and my husband's an amazing developer, but it's just different. It's just very different.
Completely.
So we haven't had anything other than that. We've never had anybody try to shoot the cat.
So the kids came in and hacked the app. That's so great. That's fun though. But it inspires the kid to have fun. And it works. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It would work. I could go do that pretty easily. But for girls, it's a little different. Oh,
they want to pet the cat and make it make nice noises.
Exactly.
And look at how cute it is. And
totally.
Put like a little bow tie on it. It's just very a very, very different way. And I'm kind of stereotyping too, but really in general, what we've found is that we're trying to reach a population of kids that really doesn't even see this as an option.
Yeah.
They don't even have it on their radar at all.
Right.
Whether it's not on their radar because they're girls and they just haven't been exposed to it, whether it's because they're very rural or tribal and it's not something at all that they would be exposed to, or culturally it might not be something that people would think they should be exposed to.
That makes sense.
We're really trying to just exactly what you said, is just give them this opportunity. And I think over time, what we'll see girls go into some of these programs. Like from that first class that I talked about, the girls that stuck with us, I think it was 72% are doing STEM.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. 72%.
Yeah, which is really high.
Yeah.
By the way.
Okay.
It's very, very, very high. I think Girls Who Code, which is a giant organization, which does really well in urban areas, they depend on volunteers to do their programs, which, finding a female technologist in Malta is you're probably going to be hard pressed to find one.
Right.
So it doesn't really work for more rural areas, and even areas that are urban rural, like a Bozeman or something. It's really hard for them to be sustainable with volunteers. So what we're looking at is okay, we have these programs, and then we pay these teachers, and the kids come in and they do their thing, and we're just really trying to expose them to all the different careers, and not just programmer. It's somebody who does content writing, because that's a part of what they have to do for our app challenge, and then also doing the design work. You got to make it look pretty. We talk about that. The judges are going to not just judge you on the technical part, but you got to sell it. Make it look good.
Yeah.
Make it look good. Here's your presentation. Who's organizing it? Who's meeting your goals? Here's your timelines. Oh my gosh, we have this one gal who's one of our interns now, Michaela. She's amazing. Michaela and Emma and Isabel are my tech trio. They're amazing girls, but Michaela would come in when she was in 6th grade or 5th grade, and she'd have a big full binder with Gantt charts in it, because we taught them for a while there. I was like, let's teach them how to make Gantt charts. And she'd come in with all these charts of who's responsible and how the project was going to flow. And
wow. Yeah.
It's just like these little kids.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. You can teach them a lot more, I think, sometimes, especially since we get a little more one-on-one time in a way with the girls. You can really teach them more than maybe what I think adults think they can. People
complain about the education system, and I think it's just maybe because it's just like a little dated, maybe. So now that maybe that's, I don't know, that's the reason why there isn't so much computer science in education, especially in elementary and stuff. But I think it raises such a great point that, like, if you can, I mean, for me, this is what I experienced, is if you can learn a skill that is really creative, that you can really bond with at an early age and get really good at it before you even get out of high school and go into college, then you're like leaps and bounds ahead of your peers who wait until college to figure out what they want to do or what they're good at.
Right. And I think that's the thing is getting kids to see that there's this possibility.
Right.
There's a possibility for you. And the other thing is it's extremely creative. And that's the part I think that doesn't translate well when I was talking about, training teachers. We have some teachers that are amazing and they just really embrace it and they're really ready to go. But I think the creative aspect of it is kids can kind of do anything with it. And I think that that's the thing that makes it so great, because once you have, your basic skills and then you're really learning to program in a real language, and then next thing you know, you could create games, you could create apps that save the world. Whatever it is that they want to do, you have this huge creative aspect to it that I think people don't really understand. They think, you're in a basement and they throw you some potato chips and
Right.
you smack out this code and that's all that there is to it. No, well, this code doesn't, we'll just we'll get rid of this one and just put in another coder and they'll just do it, which is, it's really hard because there is kind of almost people who are very, very, very good developers. It has an artistic aspect to it. And I think like Chris Necker, and I hate to toot my husband's horn, but my husband, Brian, he's the same way. There's this ability to kind of see a big picture and then take all that information in and then turn it into something that is functional, but done in a way that it really is like an art form. I mean, and that was never me. I mean, that's not me, but
yeah.
but really good ones.
That's as Chris would say, that's what being a hacker is.
Yeah, it is. It really is looking at things creatively and like, how am I going to get in here, or what can I pull out of my bag of tricks that I have in my pocket to make something happen. Yeah, I think it is like that. So there's that aspect of it that I think it gets lost in the calculus, if that makes sense. And what I really like is MSU now has a degree that's in computer science, but it's a BA degree.
Okay.
So you can, so it focuses more on the design aspects.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, which is really, really wonderful. We have a girl that's going to be going down, not next year, the year, she's going to take a gap year next year, but she'll be going down, and that's what she's going to do because she loves design. She really, really loves it. So, and she understands, coding and software, and she has a really good understanding of things, but what she really loves is design. So it gives you the opportunity to kind of go that path if that's what you want to do. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, like, just to kind of think of like, we got our first computer in the 80s. It was like an early Mac computer. And it's just, we're just like still in the infancy of computing and this type of technology. It's really kind of exciting and scary to see how quickly things are growing. And this is just so important about what you guys are doing is it's like these kids that just never thought about having this kind of opportunity. Like there's probably some little geniuses in these rural areas that are now like, oh, I can solve that. Oh,
yeah. And it's not just that. But if you look, okay, let's just talk total rural, where you're living on a ranch or a farm and you've got this equipment. Well, I don't know if anybody in Whitefish ever looked at this equipment, but it is technically amazing. Where you have all of this technology that's in this equipment now that's doing all of your, like tilling soil and planting seeds and everything else. And then not only that, there's technology that's involved with deciding, what do you do? Do I harvest today? Do I not harvest today? It's not like it's the old farmer's almanac and there's some old guy in overalls that's standing up with his finger in the wind. It's much more sophisticated, looking at the soil, looking at weather, and all of that is done through technology. So even people who are in rural communities, it's important for them to have an understanding of technology. So because it does impact their lives in a maybe different way, but it does. Maybe they're not sitting at a computer all day, but they are dealing with technology. And when I talk to the girls or talk to them, it's like, even if you're running a salon, okay, I'm a hairdresser. I'm running a salon. What do I have? I've got my customers in a database, and I've got to figure out how do I reach my customers. I've got my ordering of everything that I'm ordering. That's all. It's not like you're writing out a sheet of paper and sending that in. It's everything is done with technology nowadays. Your appointments, your everything. So I think
payments are automated. When in the 80s, you're writing checks and putting them in the mail and going to the post office.
I don't even think my kids know how to write a check.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this whole different world has evolved, and then trying to see, hey, wait a minute, my phone is not just to take my picture. My phone can do all of these just amazing things. And how do I use my phone in a way that I want to use it for me and to solve my problems, and not just something, again, that's just something to take my picture. Not that taking pictures is bad, but really.
There's so much
you can do a lot more, yeah.
Completely. Walk me through what a typical kid will experience when they participate in your courses.
Yeah, so I'll just talk. So we have summer camp, but I'm going to talk about our school year courses, and they're after school, an hour to an hour and a half, and then
1 day
also
a week? 2 days a week?
1 day a week. Typically, we'll have them if they want to do some work at home. They can. At the second half of the year, we always tell them we want you to do a little bit outside of our classes. But the first half of the year, we go through a succession of apps that get harder and harder and they recreate those apps.
Oh.
And like I said, we used to start with a cat. Now I think we start with a puppy dog. Tickle the puppy. Yeah. I think it's the first app. So they work through these apps, but while they're working through them, they're also learning about conceptual ideas. Like we talked about conditionals and variables and all the things that are computer science concepts. But again, we do them in a really fun way. Like the app that we have towards the end is is a mythical creatures app. And that one has a mermaid and a unicorn in it, but it also has a GPS function, a location sensor. It has, we're using a cloud database in it instead of the database that's locally on the phone, which we've used previously, and even explaining that concept where it goes up in the sky, those kind of things, where the data's stored. And then I think that app also there's a couple of other functionalities that are in that app, and conceptual ideas again. The database is a big one, getting the kids to understand that your data goes in and stored and you can retrieve it, and this is how you get it out. Those sorts of things. So that's what we do the first half of the year, and we always try and invite parents in the last class of December and invite them in so they can see what their kids have been doing, and let the kids show off all the apps that they've made.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it is. It is really fun, and the kids do really well. And like I said, in all of that are these computer science concepts. So we're teaching them conceptual ideas, but they're also making an app that they test, and they can see it, and they can see what's happening right away. And then in the second half of the year, which we start in January, the girls form teams, and they pick a community problem that they're going to solve, and they start working through the process of putting a business plan together and doing marketing research and competitive analysis and doing some surveys. And so we run them through that, and then again, they design what it's going to look like, what the features are going to be. And we really try, as an organization, we really try and help them make the best apps that they can, because this is what they're going to use in their presentation. So at the end, they make the app, and then on April 27th, we have an online competition and app challenge where the winners receive scholarship prizes, and we're doing the top 6 teams this year.
Oh, wow.
For scholarship prizes. Last year we ended up doing the first time we tried 2 divisions, and it was okay, but it just made it very confusing for us.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
so we said, and we have some groups where we have girls that are split in ages, so that are in Havre and out in Harlem. So we said, no, let's not do that. That's not fair to the girls. So we're just going to put everybody together. Instead of 3 prizes, we're going to do 6 prizes.
Huh.
So we have judges. If people are interested in judging, we would love to have them judge. We look for people with either technology background or business background, or have some understanding of what it takes to take something to market.
Mm-hmm.
We used to call it minnow tank.
I see what you did there. That's good.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that. It's like a miniature shark
tank.
tank.
We used to call it minnow tank, the kinder, gentler shark tank.
Right. Much.
But but it's really great. And it's turned out to be really the thing I'm most personally passionate about, because when I started this, I thought it was all about the technology. That's what I thought. Like, oh my gosh, these kids have to learn this. They have to learn this. They have to learn. But what it's ended up being after the first competition, this is my make you cry story. Well, sometimes it makes me cry a little bit, but I don't like to talk about that. we had a girl, super shy. Oh my gosh, she was so shy. And she was on a team with 2 other girls, and they were going to be presenting, and her parents were there, her mother was there, and everybody was sitting around like, this is when things were live. Mm-hmm. Like, what's going to happen? Is she going to just not talk or what? But she was such a fantastic coder. I mean, just amazing. As far as understanding programming and the logic flow and everything, she was great. And she was the one who really took the lead on programming for that project. And she'd done a wonderful job. Well, here she gets up, and the other 2 girls are talking, and people are asking questions. And it was a different environment where the other girls could ask questions, which was probably not the greatest thing, because of course they'd ask you really hard questions because they wanted you to lose so they could win. So
yeah.
So they're up there, and then when it came to a technical question, all of a sudden she grabs the microphone and she just starts talking. Well, our thing is that blah 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 blah, and this is this, and this is this, and like for 15 minutes she just talked. And
Whoa.
Her mother starts crying. Everybody at her table is crying. We're all like, oh my gosh. But that was so satisfying to me. And also, I was not a kind of kid that was, it took until I was in my 30s, I think, where I felt really comfortable in mostly men in meetings, being able to voice my opinion and kind of, hey, you guys listen to me.
Right.
So I think that that's kind of more near and dear to my heart now, which is why I think it's really hard for most people to talk in public. I don't think it's an easy thing to do. And for me, it's something I've had to work a lot on over my life. So getting that ability when you're young is it's just such an incredible gift to these girls, and I didn't realize it until that moment with that girl. I didn't realize how important it was and how much it meant to me. So that's why, as a part of our competition, the girls will present to at least 3 times, sometimes 4 times, to different sets of judges. So they get that experience where they have, they're super nervous to start out with, like terrified. But by the end, they have that confidence and that like, oh yeah, and we're doing this, and we think we're going to do this, and when we're going to do that. And sometimes it's just goofy, they're like 4th graders are like, we're the pink penguins.
Yeah.
Yeah, check us out. We did so good.
Yeah.
It's really funny to kind of, but they didn't start out that way, but they ended up like just with this enormous confidence and in their ability to communicate with adults. which is not something I think that they do typically get in school. And I think if it's just the way that schools are set up, it's not, any school in particular, they're bad or anything. It's just there's kind of a disconnect between some of those skills that you really need to hone when you're younger, if you can, because those are the things that in the workplace are gonna benefit you, really benefit you. How to get along with team members that you don't like, which happens a lot.
How to compromise, how to just go with a decision you don't like.
Oh yeah, we do fist of five. That's what we teach them. The fist of five is the magic thing that solves all problems, which was a guy, Jeremy Ashby, was a volunteer with us, and his daughter had been in the program, and he said, you guys need to use the fist of five. That's what we use to decide what we're going to have for dinner. So we've been teaching it ever since then. What is that? What you do is, so if you have a group of people and there's an idea on the table that you have to make a decision about, everybody puts up their hands. Like if you really agree, put up a 5. If you don't agree, put up, you put up a 1 or 2. But the deal with that is if anybody puts up a 1 or a 2, then that idea gets thrown out and you have to keep working. So there's nobody gets completely left out of the decision making, and nobody can just dominate what everybody else is doing. And there's some consensus. You have to have some consensus.
That's a great practice.
I know, isn't it really great?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it was from Jeremy. It was a really great suggestion, and we've been using it ever since. Oh, and for all the teams have to learn how to do that. But so again, it's this presentation part. It's working as a team. It's making decisions. It's setting goals, and also setting. You're going to work on this, and you're going to work on this, and I'm going to work on this. Who's going to get things done, and you're accountable to your team members.
Oh, that's huge. Because it's not like I got to do it because it's my homework because it's going to get graded. Like the accountability to your team is huge.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like sports a little bit, I think, in a way. Yeah, you get that same kind of camaraderie and team feel about it. But yeah, that's what we do, and we have our app challenge. The girls also participate. The girls that are old enough, they have to be middle school or high school. They participate in the Congressional App Challenge, which we did both congressional districts this year. Rosendale's people haven't come out with the results yet, but Zinke's people did, and our girls didn't get first this year. They got first last year. We sent them to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
So that was really exciting. But they got second, third, fourth, and fifth places. So.
That's great. That's so exciting.
Oh, yeah. It was absolutely wonderful. And again, last year it was great. They got to go to Washington, D.C. with all the other app challenge for every congressional district. They have winners. And then they have a big meeting, basically, where the kids get to meet each other and show off their projects. And Congress, they present in front of Congress.
Whoa.
It's pretty incredible.
That's huge.
It is. It's an amazing experience. And all of our legislators met with them and, did the picture thing and stuff. So that was pretty cool. The girls that won that one, that's, again, our 3, my little tech trio girls, they did an app. It was called Found, and they met with Nick.
Oh, nice.
And it had to do with basically human trafficking, especially with our Native communities.
Right. Oh, wow. That's so amazing. I was going to say, like, with the direction that Deliver Fund is going is more tech focused, it'd be interesting to see if there's any way we can. I mean, it's a heavy topic for a set of kids, but it's also an important thing for them to know. But just like how Deliver Fund is using all this amazing technology.
So talking about that, it was really interesting because the Tech Trio girls were invited to, there was a play at FECC just a few weeks ago now, and I went with them, and the play was about human trafficking. And we talked afterwards, and what was really interesting with the play is and it was done really well, by the way, really, really well. And the actors were great. It was great, but it was dated. It was all about, kids that run away and get on a bus or whatever and end up, in trafficking situations and the girls were like, that's, not what Nick said, because they based their own app that they did off of a lot of information that Nick gave them and how people are lured in through social media. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. and how kids get put into this. So it was kind of, that's what they meant by dated. It's like, that's not, that happens and it's horrible and it happens, but a lot of times kids nowadays are getting lured in through social media. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it was interesting to hear these young girls kind of like, no, they're really critically thinking like, well, this is really good. And it was a downer, I will say. Yeah. But at the same time, they're like, well, but that's not how it's done anymore. This is how it's done. It's done by people trying to do this and they do that. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at some statistics to see all of the amazing work you've done. So you guys have been working for 7 years. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
38 program locations and online, 929 happy students, 86 apps created, and 55 scholarships awarded. That's really impressive.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? when you look at it on paper, when you're living it, it's like, oh, okay, what's up next? But yeah, it is. It really is really great. And one of our goals was to try and reach 10% of the middle school girls in the middle, I think 6th to 8th grade girls in the state, or 5th to 8th grade, I think is what our target was. Yeah. So we're, that's what our target was. Yeah. I do think it's really interesting. We're talking about scaling in Montana. And I think for us, COVID was horrible, but also was not so bad. Because it forced us, we had talked about putting all of our content online. And we talked about it. Like, oh, yeah, we'll do that sometime. Yeah. And it really forced us to put all of our content online. And we were lucky enough to get a Google Workspace, nonprofit, free. But, putting all of that online really let us scale because it made all of our content was available to teachers. A lot of teachers are already really familiar with the Google Classroom. So our content delivery system it really just took us from being one potato, or I think we had 5 locations at the time. It took us from being that into, oh, wow, we can do these online classes. We can do this. We have online classes where we have a teacher from Virginia teaching. Oh. He's amazing. Oh, my gosh.
From Virginia?
He is just amazing. He's an incredible teacher. So it gives us an ability to do things like that, where if we can't find somebody local, it's okay. Yeah. We can go outside of Montana for that kind of thing, which is wonderful.
So if parents with a young girl want to get in touch with you guys, how do kids get signed up for Code Girls United?
Well, we sign kids up. There's 2 things. We have summer camp coming up, and we're going to roll out, I think, registration for that probably in March or April. You can go to our website. It's codegirlsunited.org. And you can go to, I think it's Get Involved, and it'll have a section there for registration. If you want to register for either summer camp, that would be great. We don't register for the fall until August. We'll open up the fall registration then. So like I said, it's free. But it's a year-long commitment. We always we're having a meeting with parents and explain this is a year-long. Although we do have a lot of flexibility because if kids have basketball, oh my gosh, basketball is the killer of all things, especially right now. We do have flexibility where we're going to have an online program every night, Monday through Thursday. So if somebody misses something, they can hop in. So say all of a sudden basketball's Monday and you've been going to Monday class, what we're going to do is allow kids to hop into Wednesday class.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Online.
Yeah.
So that way it gives some more flexibility for for kids who are doing other things, because it is hard. It is a year-long thing, so it's not, something that you're just going to commit to for a season.
Right.
And then on May 11th, we have a very exciting fundraiser. It's going to be a mother-daughter tea, and it's going to be at the patio here in Whitefish on the 11th, which is the day before Mother's Day.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Is that the old Nancy Caudry Gallery space?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it.
Kind of by Bonsai.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what it is. Yes.
Yep.
So it's going to be flowy dresses and
fun
and tea, like
like a high tea.
Like a high tea with finger foods. I think Earl's going to do some food, and I think Christian's going to do he's going to do some of he's a pastry chef. He trained in France as a pastry chef. So I think he's going to be doing some of the pastries for us. So I know, isn't this kind of wild?
You cannot be bored in the Flathead Valley. That's great. Well, Marianne, thanks for coming and telling us all about, I'm so excited about this program now. I already was.
Thank you very much, Morgan. I appreciate you taking the time and having me on and letting me talk about our organization and all the things that we're doing, because I'm very proud of where we are, and I think people in this valley should be proud too, because there is no way that we could have done what we've done without the support of the people here in the valley, whether it's volunteers or teachers or donations or sponsorships or whatever. We couldn't have done it without everybody's help.
Oh, good job, Flathead Valley.
Good job.
Good job. Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, and thank you.